All right, let's dive right into this explainer and crack a seriously frustrating troubleshooting mystery that has been costing database administrators and cloud architects way too many hours of lost time. If you're managing multi-cloud environments, you already know that maximizing the value of your enterprise software licenses is a massive priority. But what exactly happens when the software you paid for just flat out refuses to cooperate with your chosen cloud provider? Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating technical puzzle surrounding Oracle multi-tenant databases when they're running outside of Oracle's own cloud infrastructure.
So picture this. You're an IT ops pro, and you're building out this robust cloud environment. You've deployed an Oracle database server on an Azure virtual machine. You're using the multi-tenant architecture, which, as we know, is an awesome way to manage multiple pluggable databases, or PDBs, under one single container database. Everything is humming along beautifully. You provision your first PDB, your second, your third, no sweat. And then, suddenly, you go to provision that fourth pluggable database and you hit a complete brick wall. The script totally bombs out, the deployment stops dead in its tracks, and you're just left scratching your head.
You pull up the logs and bam, you're staring directly at an ORA 65011 error. It's completely halted your multi-tenant deployment. Now, for seasoned DBAs, seeing an obscure ORA error code is honestly just another Tuesday, right? But this one is particularly stubborn. It specifically points to exceeding maximum pluggable database limits. So naturally, your immediate thought is to just start running down the standard troubleshooting checklist to get things moving again. Your absolute first instinct is probably going to be, wait, do we not have the proper multi-tenant license applied here? And honestly, that makes perfect logical sense. Oracle's standard policy is pretty clear. If you aren't explicitly licensed for Oracle Multitenant, your container database is strictly capped at a maximum of 3 user-created PDBs. So seeing a failure the exact second you try to create number 4, that points directly to a missing license. You figure somebody just forgot to check a box or apply the right key during setup. But here is where it gets weird. Let's say you dig a little deeper. You go into your compliance dashboard and you confirm that, yep, you absolutely have the expensive, fully paid multi-tenant license for this specific database. You are officially entitled to the whole shebang, the full multi-tenant options. So thinking it might just be a weird configuration quirk, you dive into the system and manually bump up the max_PDS parameter to a much higher value, literally telling the database, hey, you have permission to scale. You run the creation script one more time, and no way, it still fails. To put this into perspective, let's just look at the massive gap between what you bought and what you're actually getting here. When you purchase that multi-tenant license, your expectation is that on Enterprise Edition, you can spin up to 252 PDBs. Or if you're running Enterprise Edition on engineered systems like Exadata or using Oracle Cloud Infrastructure options, that limit absolutely skyrockets to a massive 4,096 PDBs. That's a ton of flexibility. Yet, here you are on your Azure VM, despite paying for those upper limits, the reality is you are firmly, frustratingly stuck at exactly 3. And this brings us to the ultimate DBA mystery. We've verified the license, we've manually overridden the configuration parameters. So, if it's not a missing license and it's not a simple configuration parameter holding us back, what on earth is blocking this deployment? Why does the software acting like it's completely unlicensed? Well, the crucial answer is actually buried deep in the fine print. After some serious cross-referencing in the Oracle license documentation, you'll eventually find this very specific, incredibly easy to overlook limitation tucked away in the notes section regarding the multi-tenant feature. It explicitly states this harsh reality. Non-Oracle cloud environments, use is limited to 3 pluggable databases per container database. So it turns out, even with a fully paid multi-tenant license in hand, the rules of the game change entirely depending on whose infrastructure you're running on. If you are on an Azure VM, an AWS EC2 instance, or literally any other non-Oracle cloud environment, you simply cannot create a 4th user PDB. The licensing document supersedes your paid tier. It effectively turns your expensive, high-capacity multi-tenant option right back into the default, unlicensed baseline of just 3 PDBs. Now, DBAs being DBAs, you might think there's a clever technical workaround to just bypass this limitation, but if you try to get clever and run an strace on the Oracle operating system process during PDB creation to see exactly what it's doing behind the scenes, you're going to uncover something really fascinating. The software isn't just passively reading a parameter file. Actually, scratch that. It's way more active than that. The process is actively hunting for a specific flag called non_Oracle_cloud_provider. It is dynamically checking the underlying underlying infrastructure it's hosted on just to enforce this cloud-specific limitation.
So why does all this matter? Understanding this hard limit isn't just a neat piece of tech trivia. It is absolutely crucial for your cloud architecture and your compliance standing. With these specific updates in the licensing documentation, you have to be acutely aware of this hard limit to make sure your multi-cloud operations actually work. Think about it. If your disaster recovery plan or your scaling strategy on non-Oracle clouds relies on spinning up dozens of PDBs per container, that architecture is going to fail in production, guaranteed.
I'll leave you with this thought to take back to your IT ops and cloud architecture teams, and I highly urge you to audit your Oracle environments today. Ask yourselves, are your current multi-cloud database architectures accidentally violating this hidden 3 PDB limit? Or perhaps more importantly, are you designing future architectures with the totally false assumption that your multi-tenant license works exactly the same way on Azure and AWS as it does on OCI? It's time to check your feature usage, review those deployment scripts, and make sure your entire cloud strategy perfectly aligns with the reality of your software's fine print.